Tuesday, November 7th, 7:25.
Whoa.
7:25.
My clock's wrong on my computer.
Well, I'm calling and roll, please.
Right,
Yes, here.
Lima,
Here.
Malaco,
Here.
Block,
Here.
Betty, here, Babcock.
Present. And we're sorry that Mr. Sanders is under the weather, but he is attending remotely with us in spirit. And
Thank
will
you,
help
President Gustafson. Appreciate it.
as we go through this. Item 3.1, can you have a motion to approve the minutes from the October 17th meeting?
So moved. Second.
Babcock,
Yes.
Lima,
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Betty, yes, Block.
Yes.
Thank you. New business, item 5.1, a discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment remotely? Oh, okay. I know. This is okay. Item 5.1, a discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of amendments to chapter 32, article 4 of the village code, the Village of Roscoe Code of Ordinances related to issuance of fireworks permits within the village of Roscoe. If you look within your docs, you will note that item that is redlined pertains to all of the usual and customary bans on fireworks because they're illegal in the state of Illinois, with the exception if the board issues a permit for said fireworks. To give you a little background of this, last year, we had 2 requests that were made, and our requests go to the fire chief. And in both cases, the fire chief said no and concluded there was no safe spot within our village to have large fireworks displays. So before you is the request to eliminate that permitting so that large fireworks displays would no longer take place with a permit within the village of Roscoe. Questions, comments?
So under any circumstances, like if you wanted a 4th of July. Couldn't have it?
We would not permit under this large scale fireworks displays. Our permitting process as it now exists requires that the fire chief sign off and say that there is no hazard or no liability. And in the past 2 cases this year, he concluded there just cannot have an assurance that, for example, in one case that a brush fire would not be contained. In another case, it was in an area where there was a lot of public transportation, I-90, Willowbrook Road, other businesses nearby. So the consensus, his decision was, his recommendation was, there is no viable place within the village to hold big fireworks displays like some communities do. Rockford can do it over the Rock River, for example, city of Rockford. But in the village of Roscoe, different matter.
Answer is yes to your question, yeah.
So you're taking
This would
the
take it-
ability of any
Correct.
fireworks at all in Roscoe off the board.
Correct.
For any type of event, yeah.
Oh, they're illegal in Illinois, period. Any other questions, comments?
Personally, I don't agree with it, but that's my own comment.
If you, you could still go to the old. Because there's always potentially exceptions to any rule. I mean, you can't say maybe everywhere in Roscoe, right? I mean, over the river, I mean, who knows, right?
Riverside Park.
I mean, Riverside Park, wherever. If you remove this option, then. If there is a viability, or somebody has an idea of wanting to do something like this, it's not even on the table, right? You can't even bring it up. To the board, right?
True. Yes. They would be here.
We added it years ago because of the Lions wanting to do them at the end of the pump festival. That's why it was added.
And they no longer do that.
No,
They haven't in the last few years now. But they used to shoot them off over the backside there.
I don't understand.
Over,
Leland Park area.
yeah, over by the cemetery, they carved them off over the backside.
Who's asking for the amendment? I mean, why is this on here? I mean, what's the problem? When people come to us if it's gonna go to the fire chief to, as the final say.
It becomes an administrative, it's a nuisance. Simply that, it's an administrative nuisance. They go through the process of acquiring them or going through the permitting process. And in one case, before even the permit was disapproved, the individual bought the supplies with the anticipation that it was going to be a slam dunk automatic approval. And that wasn't the case. So if people know clearly that it's not permissible within the village of Roscoe, then hopefully they wouldn't do that. I'm just laying before you, historically, they have not been permitted with the reason that they are unsafe. It cannot be contained. And that is the
Did I just hear that?
decision of the fire department.
If they held it in a park, it still wouldn't be safe. Or these specific locations that were deemed unsafe.
Well, would you, for the purposes of conversation, if someone came before you today and wanted permission to shoot fireworks over Leland Park? You say yes or no?
Well, I would just take the case of the Lions Club.
Well, that's today. Let's do it today, not what they used to do years ago, based
I
on,
would consider Riverside Park. It's a stipulation that gets made as we provide a location. Can we work with the fire chief to find the location that would work?
And depending on rain and the weather we've had, I mean, there's a big open field behind the bike path that they could be launched over if it's not dry out. It's really all dependent on the weather and stuff. So I think taking it away completely is wrong. Almost every community has some option for fireworks.
Yeah, to me, I'm taking away or even having us make a decision on, I mean, it makes, okay, if somebody goes through the process, do that, and still gets voted down. We're not making decisions. You can't have freedom to at least ask for it.
Would there be any way we could have them talk to the fire chief before coming to us? Like if they call in and say, I want a permit for a firework display, say, contact the fire chief and see if their location's okay, and then come to us if it is. That'd be easier.
if you wish to have, I guess the easiest thing, you wish to have still the option, we just simply leave the ordinance as it is and move on.
I'm just saying for procedural stuff, maybe it's, staff says, hey, contact the fire chief first, and we'll go from there.
That can be recommended when they take out the permit.
Yeah.
Okay, so going around the table, how many want to keep it the way it is? Okay, moving on. So status quo remains for 5.1.
Please vote. All in favor?
All in favor of maintaining the status quo? If clerk would call the roll on that, please.
Yeah.
Please say aye.
I
Thank you. Okay.
So there's
5.
no motion, like no one first or second.
There was no motion.
Okay, just
There was no
wanna
motion.
So
So
this
I
is a
guess
straw poll.
Straw poll. Okay.
we're told to keep the language as it is.
It was a bamboo strap. Classic.
Okay.
Yeah.
A vote of consent. How about that?
Item 5.2, discussion and recommendation to the board for approval of amendments to chapter 110, article 4, sections 11 through 93. Village of Roscoe Code of Ordinances, eliminating the issuance of contractor registration within the village of Roscoe. Contractor registration has been an on and off thing historically within the village. Once upon a time we had it, then we didn't, then we did. And so now before you is the consideration of, do we wish to continue it? Contractor registration is contractor giving information, proof of insurance, paying a $25 fee. And anything else that's done with it? Attorney Kalikas?
That's about it. We don't really do additional checks on it. We don't necessarily do anything more than just gather the information and have it.
We force anything?
Not much to enforce. We don't go
Oh, so-
out, we don't look, we don't issue registration numbers. We don't issue like licenses, registration licenses, like some places would do where they have like on their advertising around their trucks. We really don't do anything besides gather information. I think the reason why I was putting initially was so we would have that information if somebody needed to know who did their, I think roofing, I think was the example.
It was
We
a
were talking about.
stopgap because we had a bunch of issues in Chicory. From shadier organizations. It was our attempt to put something in place to try and monitor and govern some of that, but I don't think it's really been followed through with and probably has failed. If you don't have someone going out and checking every single person that drives through town and making sure they have it, it's not really, it was really just a stopgap to try and help with
For
something.
consumer protection, right? I mean, yeah, and the thing is, right now, you have next door, you have other means to say, hey, don't use this vendor or whatever, because whatever, you know.
It was before all that, so this, yeah, they kind of self-govern themselves now, obviously. Because of social media.
So is there a motion?
I make
to-
a motion
To.
to
remove this section.
eliminate the issuance of contract registration.
I'll second it. Contractors signed up for this. Like, do we
I
even?
think there were maybe, I don't Scott knows offhand, I think there's a couple, two or.
Oh, no,
not a
there's,
whole lot.
there's probably 30.
So you can come in and do it as they
So
go.
it's not a revenue issue.
It's not a revenue.
So it's not been enforced, shall we
Pay
say?
for the
and-
wipers.
No, if I may, I'll just quickly explain how we did it. You know, we don't have a building department, so we don't issue building permits. So we don't, this was never meant to be a validation of licensure or qualification. This was simply meant to establish that those people performing work within the village of Roscoe that requires a zoning permit. So really that's largely people building decks, pools, building homes, paving driveways, work of that nature, that they're actually a licensed business in the state of Illinois, that they're a legitimate business, and then it gives us contact information. This was in response to some residents reaching out to appeal to us to help them track down unscrupulous contractors that maybe did some work at their property and didn't finish the job and left. I think it's debatable as to how much teeth it has. A side benefit of that $25 a year registration is that they're listed on our website. And I think if you look, they're grouped by category. There's a couple dozen. We don't issue a zoning permit without, if there's a contractor present, they have to either have an existing registration with us or they have to fill one out as part of that application. So that's the enforcement mechanism, is through the issuance of the zoning permit. We do require, unless someone indicates they're self-performing, which they have the right to do. But if they're using a contractor to perform any work that requires a zoning permit, we ask that they be registered with the village. And I am ambivalent on the efficacy of it.
Do you have any other comments?
Yes, you said there's a couple dozen listed on our website? Yeah,
I think that's what he said.
well, I guess
Yeah, hold on.
Nice
I'm
to
sorry,
have
I was
this
muted. I
section
think so,
on.
yeah.
of local businesses is what I'm getting at. I'm okay with getting rid of this. I'm just,
A directory when we move to the.
yeah, so we have local contractors, we have local.
Just list who they are,
Right.
as many as are operating area.
You have to be careful with that, that we're not
Endorsing.
endorsing,
Right.
vetting, yes.
Which is what this sort of does.
That's what-
And that's sort of the concern I've got
Yeah.
with that. And how we.
Let's take a vote.
Right, so
We're done.
to repeat the motion, please. Would someone repeat the motion? The motion was to eliminate, and there was a second.
Yes.
Yes.
Calling for the vote, please.
Babcock,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Petty. Yes. Sima,
Yes.
Flock.
Yes.
Item 5.3. Discussion and recommendation to approve the special event permit for the annual hometown holiday community event on December 9th, including a partial closure of Main Street. So Main Street will be closed, and I'll ask Chief Hawley to tell you his plan.
It would be closed from Presley to Harrison Street. So, insurance agency to just past the police department. Still allow traffic flow around up in that area. Be able to get the buses and stuff that need to transport people, everything past there.
So moved.
And the time frame, please.
3 to 7 is what we shut down. So I have a couple officers, on higher back, for security for the event.
And as a board, then you recommend and second the partial street closure. Is there a motion?
Some
Second.
And thanks, Sam, for doing that.
You're welcome, sir.
Calling the vote.
Petty, yes, Ellicoat,
Yes.
Block,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
By the
Item,
way, 49. Might be a moot point now, but there's 49 listed on our website of the registered contractors.
49. Oh, okay. Item 5.4, discussion and recommendation to the board establishing staffing levels for the Village of Roscoe Police Department. Chief Hawley.
This should be good. This should be good. How many hundreds do you need?
So in the packets, we have a couple different things. I've seen the staff study in packets. We also have a letter from Police and Fire Commission. And then another supporting diagram I just put in today as far as benefit time usage. So the reason this is coming up now is one, because of the staff levels and the growth of the village over the years and the amount of call load. And then we also have within the last few months, we've been doing testing and we have a few very good candidates. And within those candidates, as of right now, we have a lot for 16 total spots. We have 15 right now. So we're hiring one to go to the academy. We have 3 others, and testing right now with any department is very delicate situation as far as being able to get people to actually test, let alone have several valuable candidates. In that staff study is some of the highlight things besides call load, population, and did a comparison also with like our comparable departments with Rockdale, Harvard, and then the FBI, like as far as the Midwest, what the suggestion by the FBI studies are as well. But we also have like over the next 5 years or so, we have the potential of anywhere between at least 5 command staff potential retirement. So to add now and then have, it takes about a year in order to have an officer on the road. Academy it's 4 months. And that's without any
Closer
testing.
to 2, probably, or 18 months, but
Yeah, but we have
optimistic.
viable candidates right now. So without that, yes, otherwise it would be 12 to 18 months otherwise, but because we just are finishing our testing process. And we have academies coming up, and it is the opportunity to get those in there. And I mean, you're talking about 4 months in the academy, 3 months in FTO. That's at least if we can get those in January automatically. We do have a couple of spots in January to start. But like I was saying, the command staff, and we have a couple others on laterals for the next 5 years that have come from other departments. It really helped us out in the last few years here, bringing that knowledge on. Within even 5 ones that could retire, we're looking at 130 to 150 years of experience that's going to be lost. So it's pretty significant. So to get people on board now, give them a few years of experience in the department in order to bring the department in the future where it needs to continue. if anybody has any questions, if you had a chance to look over the staff study at all.
So optimal's 19, is that what the number is?
Yeah, I mean, optimal would be 19. I mean, that would be.
When would those people officially be on village payroll?
Village payroll, well, as of right now, we'd have 2 spots in January. One was already allotted. So that one's already kind of. I don't know, it's number 16. When we talk about numbers, I just go by number 16, we're at 15 now, we have 16. So that would be January, we have 2 spots in January. Sometimes they will let you slip another one in if it is. If they have the opportunity, if you already signed a couple. Otherwise, I believe it's May when we have our next academy slots open. Is we reserve every single year a couple slots with every academy, just because that is so hard to get into anymore as well. I mean, it used to be way easier. We used to have, I mean, I don't know, probably 90 people testing for our department back in the day. I mean, now it's, we were lucky enough to have 30. I mean, we're getting numbers over a lot of municipalities larger than us around. They're down to a handful.
Let's look at the 2024 budget impact and your needs. If all of the jigsaw puzzles come together and all of the timing within the 2024 budget as placeholders, we should allot for 17, 18, or 19 positions in your department.
I mean, that would
With the
pure.
with the list that you have.
Yes,
And the plan to move people into the academy.
Yeah.
And to have those boots on the ground sometime or another.
Yeah.
Sometime in 2024, how many pairs of boots?
we could have 19. We would still actually have at least 1 or 2 viable candidates on our list, even if we were at things. One of the other issues like that I had put on there as well is like, I mean, a lot of this doesn't, as far as numbers with personnel, it doesn't also take into consideration any work-related injuries, which currently I have 2 officers off on work-related injuries right now, and it is a high probability with our line of work, but it's unfortunate, but our officers do get hurt just like anywhere. We ran a benefit time usage today, just over the years 2022 and then this year up till December, and then we projected out for the next 2 days. On average, I lose about, I mean, this includes sick time, comp time, vacation time, personal time. I lose on average 1.8 officers a year just due to benefit time. That does not include any of the work-related injuries or anything like that. Consideration that's purely just benefit usage.
You mean vacation? sick leave.
Vacation, sick time, comp time, which they earn for time, can turn into bank time. And those numbers also every year continue to go up because of once you're on after a year, once you get on to 5 years, move up 1 day of vacation every single day after that, and maxes out at 4 weeks of vacation. So we have a lot of laterals and some new hires. So, I mean, I would say besides the start of all of our night shift and a couple of our day shift offers, we have less than 5 years on. So they haven't hit the multiple weeks of vacation.
I had a chance to read the report, and it was interesting because I think it was Rockton and Harvard both have pretty much staffed to the population based on the FBI's recommendation for the Midwest, and we're 3 officers underneath just the average. So the other thing that seems to me that Roscoe's, do we have much attrition once you become part of Roscoe's force?
It goes in waves. I mean, I would say compared to a lot of the other smaller departments around us, yes, I mean, we have a tendency to try to hold more. I can tell you.
Is this an attractive place for to come? Because we just got an officer from Rockton.
Yes.
And so does it make it more
We
attractive
are
here?
drawing from other departments. That's how we've gotten our laterals down the last couple years, it's from other departments and the draw is just because, I mean, law enforcement talks, I mean, everybody talks to everybody else, the biggest gossip in the world. I mean, network that there is, and everybody talks, and Roscoe is considered one of the desirable places within the county.
And I would say, based on what we're trying to do, developing Main Street, being growing up, I always heard about Rockford being a bad place to be, but having a good police force, at least staff, like equivalent to the area, would be something we would want to be using our marketing program and our 501(c) to attract investment. So to me, you know, I would forego a property versus having a safe community.
So
And a
is
lot
that a
of our-
recommendation to staff at 19 positions?
I do want to very transparent, though, I have included in there costs and stuff like that, as far as what our cost estimates and stuff would be, just to be very transparent with everybody. Not only wages and overtime and pension stuff, but then we also like line items within the budget that would see an increase. And I did that, whether it's per year or a one-time cost, academy, stuff like that.
So when you look at this total burden cost, it's a big number, but the total burden cost is not what the officer's taking home. And it's 65,000. I think that is the number.
So I would question 19, I guess, just because since the census has come through, our population has grown. We have housing going up, people are moving in, so
Yes,
we're not at 10,870.
we are not, but all we can go off is on the last.
So,
Yeah.
right, but the next one's what, 10 years later, so
Yes,
to me.
Yep.
We should.
we're trying to
probably
get on the side of.
You're questioning 19 being too low?
Possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want, if we're gonna add officers over the next couple of years, I'd like to see us add enough that's going to help you, not in 2 years, you're dealing with the same thing. Because our population's increasing.
Especially you're gonna take
So.
18 months to bring them on.
But it can be the stated goal that we wish to have the department at X size over, let's say by the year 2028. But for just budget planning purposes for 2024, is there a recommendation that we plug in the necessary numbers to fund 19 positions? Then when you're in 2024 and you're looking at 2025, and you can add 2 more, then you can do it sequentially. There's just an understanding here that the department has to grow to meet the needs of the community. And for 2024, we need to agree as to how many positions we want to fund realistically that are fillable. And we hear that you've got 2 on the list, definite hires. Is that what you said?
We have at least 4 on this new list for them.
But placement in the academy.
In the academy in January, and then more in next May.
Next May. So,
I would
plan for
suggest we
3.
do 20. Instead of 19. 2024.
Yeah,
Take
bump it up.
another look at it again, because we're probably gonna need to be realistically in the next 10 years
Sure.
at like 25 to 30.
Right.
Right, so.
Okay, so there's a proposal that, or a recommendation that the appropriation be for 20 positions with all ancillary costs. Those numbers plugged in the 2024 budget.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Eddie,
Yes.
Flock,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Sima,
Yes.
Malcolm.
Yes. When we do the budget, just keep in mind, yes, we're paying that now, but they're not actually in the field for
Another year.
At least,
another year or more.
yes.
So that's why we have to be thinking about these things now, because it's not really getting boots on the ground until.
Not really a thing yet.
Yeah, it might be 25 before you actually see all those boots on the ground.
Hey, the academy.
You have to appropriate it.
You buy those boots in advance and.
Boots and guns and just put them in the locker.
Thank you. Item 5.5, discussion and recommendation to the board regarding establishment of new employment categories corresponding wage scales in the Department of Public Works. within your documents, you have the old and you have the new. The old one, 6 categories of trying to establish levels and skill levels and determine a wage scale. And it was found to be unworkable. I'll ask Troy here to explain the problems that he had with that.
Yeah, staff, we were talking about this actually when we just got done hiring, for the 3 new spots. We had, the 2 new employers we have, and we came across they're almost too narrow. Some of it almost makes it feel like, okay, you can use a shovel, but okay, if you get stuff up to the next tier, you can use a hammer. I feel, in my opinion. So we broke it down in 3 tiers, so it's broadened it a lot more, in my opinion. And one of the big things I put in there was like the superintendent's discretion too. Because like right now I have a staff member or staff employee that he's only been here 3 years, but he's managed people for 25 years in this position before. So even though he only has like the 3 years in public works, I mean, he's good with dealing with people and how to manage people and send out, work orders with them if I'm not here. That's another reason why we kind of broaden it and put like the quotations for the superintendent's discretion too for someone.
So the recommendation, as you see, is to create 3 public works categories. With a broader range of skills within each one of those and greater flexibility in placing people within those and a dollar range. Not quite certain how you got to the dollar range. Is this something that you see for 2024 or was this a recommendation?
Yeah, for 2024, this, from going off of the old one, this with inflation and everything, and to actually catch up 3 of our employees to the new hirees.
And to consider this competitive?
Yes, to make it competitive and plus, look a lot better, attractive because actually 2 of our employees came from different municipalities.
Any questions you have? Mr. Taylor?
CDL training that's on here, is that, I know that was an issue with the snow plowing and stuff, is that, that's under the phase 1, so that's a minimum that they have that CDL?
Yes. We're still,
Is that an issue or not?
the last time it was not. We got lucky, everyone had CDLs, Class A's and Class B's. We're still working on putting together a final for training, the clause of kind of working at how our police department has like some type of contract with them, so they don't get, if we pay for their training and so they can't leave.
There will be coming some in-house policy related to training, in-house training. That's being explored in combination with Rock Valley, that we have to put together all of the necessary documents. It was kind of, fortunately, as Troy said, put on the back burner because fantastic idea that Troy had just put out our little electronic message board this time, and he got a lot of applicants, and fortunately there are lots of people
So
who
people can
qualified
come
with-
on without a CDL and we can train them right under.
if we need to in the
We need
future. We wish to have an in-house program like that. Okay. So is there a motion to send to the board for approval, the reclassification of public works positions as you see there, that public works level 1, 2, and 3?
So what I did. One more question.
Yeah.
What does this do for our salaries right now? Or is everybody in these categories or are they going to get bumped into certain categories with our next budget?
The new hirees are in this category right now. Some of our staff members have been there 8 years are going to get bumped up to compare with some of the new employees.
Does that go effective January 1 or is it? Because we're.
But I'm planning it for the budget. Obviously, budget's not been approved yet.
So January 1 is when everybody.
I'll intercede here and say that would be the intention, trustee Plock. Yes, I think that there's some overdue corrections coming in the department, and yes, so they would be implemented January 1.
That's fine. I just wanted to know when. Thank you.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second.
Simon,
Yes.
Malaco,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Item 5.6, discussion and recommendation, to the board for approval entering into a 5-year agreement with Johnson Controls for inspection of backflow prevention devices and various equipments related to fire detection and suppression. I'm going to ask Roy to give us the financial information and why we have to do this.
This is a renewal contract, a 5-year contract with Johnson Controls. They test all of our fire inspections, like fire extinguishers, our pole pads, emergency lights, the sprinkler systems, the backflow preventative. A lot of it's a couple times a year, like twice a year they check it. Some of them it's just like once a year. We've had them for the last 5 years. We did get another quote from another company, and it was quoted at $8,512 annually with a no increase for the 5 years. The renewal quote that we got from Johnson Controls, which Scott did a great deal talking with them. It starts out for a 5 year, it starts out with the $5,435.27, and it's a 3% annual for the next 4 years. Which that total cost would be. It's still, the total cost for the 5th year is still $6,117.45, which is still cheaper than the $8,500 that was quoted from the other company. And that's for Village Hall, Public Works, Police Department. There's like Leland Park, Riverside Park, Swanson Park, and Porter Park.
Make a motion, we send it to the board.
Second.
To be clear, the first year cost would be $54.35.
Yep,
Then each year thereafter, a 3% increase.
correct. Like the second year would be $5,598. The third year is $57.66. Fourth is $59.39. And the 5th year is $61.17.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second.
Malaco,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Babcock.
Yes.
Item 5.7. Discussion and recommendation authorizing the purchase by the Village of Roscoe of certain real property known as 5466 Bridge Street. Everyone familiar with the property in reference? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Right.
And we were going to be doing or entertaining Fair Graham to do what was the name of the study?
Phase 1 environmental.
Phase 1 environmental. Okay, so the purchase price, do we state that?
Yeah.
Okay,
107.
107.
107.
500.
107, 700.
700, 107.
Let's be at the board next.
Okay, whatever. So we have a motion and a second.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Teddy,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Malaco.
Yes.
Item 5.8. And before we get to that, within your docs, you have a diagram, a timeline like this. It tells us when we have to approve the tax levy and all of the various things that have to happen as we go through the necessary part of the budget process, and that is the tax levy timeline. Okay, within your documents, Attorney Kerlink has prepared a sheet explaining the property tax levy and what the various possibilities can be. So everyone bring it up, and I'll ask Joe to go through the explanation.
Joe, when did you load those?
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, everything is up there.
Then you have to- got the piece sticking out.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
There's two documents in there. I won't go over the one. The one is the worksheet for how we calculate the main rates. But the main one that I think we're talking about here is the one that's called property tax information sheets. It just gives the listing of, really in the center of that page, you have option for tax levy. It shows what we levied last year, what we collected last year, and then the various options of what we can do this year. So we're maxed, we have a maximum we can collect under the property tax extension limitation law, PTEL. We've heard that term before. In Illinois, we're sort of limited to a certain maximum rate essentially based on inflation. So those numbers there, that maximum extension number there is the maximum possible that we can levy. So what you have to do is decide, do you want to do a maximum all the way down to, I suppose, nothing, which might be good. Those options are listed on there as well as the differences. So we take the maximum extension this year. It's because of all the because of inflation, really. It's $91,000 additional over what we levied last year. So that's what we're looking at, really, is that $91,000 difference from last year. I also have on there the under 5%, because in Illinois, we need to, if we go over 5% from the previous year's levy, we need to do publication. And we've done this for many, many years, but we have to publish it. There's a certain notice, with a black box around it. It has to go in the paper. Also timing on that. Then we have a hearing, sort of truth and taxation hearing, it's called, where we publicly sort of discuss that, the public can input on that. And then so we have that hearing process. And there's all sorts of timing on that as well. That's all listed in that calendar that President Jefferson showed you. So if you wanted to not do that, that's, you have to take under 5% from last year, and that's the number you have on there, that 1.67 million. And then I also have on there the same extension that we obviously extended last year, which is 1.5 million. If you were under the 5%, it's about an $80,000 difference from last year. That's without that truth and taxation hearing. So those are the general options, the changes in there. But yeah, you're looking at about $91,000 difference from last year for what you can possibly levy.
And the second page, Attorney Prolinkus used the property that we acquired, the Labrie property, and took their tax bill to illustrate how those various options would play out in real time. So
which is very, very small, honestly.
Well, for this
For
particular,
a particular bill, yes.
yes, for this particular property.
Yes.
And I have no idea if this is the average. Because we didn't do that. We just took the one that didn't violate anyone's privacy, but everything's public record anyway. But this was the one that was chosen. So as you look at what the various options are, you see what the impact would be on just this one property. And
I think the big thing you remember is if you look at there, I got that tax bill listing out all the different taxing districts. So yes, ours is the smallest portion of there, but also realizing too that everybody is going to have the possibility of that 5% increase over the past year, likely. And so that, some of those where it's the, school districts where it's a, $2,300 tax bill. Right, those all have a possibility of going up another 5%. So it's just something to think about as you go through there. That while ours is a small portion, likely all of them are going to be increasing to some extent.
but the one thing that you must do at this committee is make a recommendation to the board as to which of those options you wish to pursue, because it has to go to the board on the 21st for a vote in order to meet the timeline. So discuss.
Do we have, what I didn't see in here was historical numbers for the last maybe 10 years. And what the levy increases been for Roscoe, Village of Roscoe. Do we know what its average has been and what it's been year over year?
We can get that. For the most part, it's been whatever the inflation is. So it's been for the last bunch of years, 2 or 3% probably.
Yeah.
Well under 5%. This is the
Right.
first year we've in probably 10 years we've been able to go over 5%. And you have the option of even doing that.
Right.
But probably 2%, 1% some years. I mean,
But it's not inflation.
in the last 10 years or
It was
so.
minimal. Sometimes the extension might have been as little as $17,000 one year, but then there was no growth in inflation.
In a different. Yeah,
As a
one or
whole.
two, yeah, not very much percentages.
Yeah, I think our standard, we've always been pretty close to this. P on the list here. But so this one's over the 5% this year, like we talked about the last time. So that's where it makes it a little challenging.
Fair market values in Roscoe. What have they done in the last couple of years?
Hold or increase. Well, inflation has hit everyone, as things were saying before, everyone's assessed value went up on an average of 10% all across the county.
Like right here, we're at 264, 22, 291. Right now, that's the last one, 291 million.
I have sensitivity with what the chairman, like you said, as far as having other taxing bodies all taking the same at the same time, so it would be helpful then. I know we had to put in a number here or an option, but it would be nice to see historically what township has done year over year for the last, to get some type of, I guess, it's predictability as to what the property homeowner will see.
What have you
Yeah,
seen?
yes.
I'm sorry, what have you seen on your personal bills?
School district goes up every year. The school district is up major. We're just looking at what the percentages are here, right? You know, we're below the township, right? We're we're below some of the other taxing bodies here. But I'm looking at the impact to the homeowner as well.
Back here, so yeah, the fair market value for this property, right, that.
Yeah.
Will bring property to this
Oh,
purchase.
I'm not in control of one.
It went up 9.37%, so I mean, that's, we're looking at just for,
I'll find some for you when I get done. I'll find some.
I think it's gonna be hard to show or to draw conclusions from previous, like the historic changes. I think that it's because it's been so low, yeah, right? We haven't had the opportunity to go up at all. I have some questions we could look and see, did they take the maximum or did they take something less than the maximum amount? But the actual percentages, it's sort of hard to, I think, draw a conclusion from those.
So looking at this, the under 5% for this tax bill, it would increase it by 3.7%. Yeah. There's no category for this size.
The reason why those percentages are a little different too, is because it's can be spread over more property. So we do have an additional, and that's why it's not, 5% is the maximum, and why it's only 4.4 the maximum extension. It's because the amount of property we have is expanded. Like we've got a lot, I think I had it in here somewhere, the amount of new construction we have listed on there. $16 million in new property that's being taxed, so the overall amount we're asking for spreads out amongst everyone, or more people, I should say. That's why that number goes down a little bit, but. Why it's not gonna be the same. And that's, I guess, something else to look at too. So we kept the same exact extensions last year. We asked the same amount of money as last year. In that example, their tax bill would go down $4, overall. From last year, just because there's more property to spread it amongst.
And what was the increase last year?
5%.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's no hearing, right?
Yeah, we haven't had the opportunity to have it here because we haven't been able to go over 5%.
I'm looking at the assessors from Baker County report of new construction for 2023 commercial at 841,000, residential new construction at 1.4 million, making a total new construction 2.2
That's
million
what's on there. I think.
for the 2023 tax.
Oh, that, I'm gonna have it as the,
Maybe that's
that's the, yeah, that's the.
increase in inflation. So the amount of new construction in 2023, according to county clerk, total for our community, $2,246,270. Of that, 841,560 for commercial and 1,404,754 in residential.
So the issue with not taking anything is that you never get an opportunity to get that money back.
Right.
You just say, nope, it's in the wind, we're never gonna take it. So that.
And we've done that.
We go around the table. Mr. Babcock, what do you wish to do? You look at the options on the first page here. 2022 levy, a maximum extension or an extension under 5%. Same as last year, could be the 2022 levy.
Generally, I'm opposed to raising taxes. If we look at longer term, if we all believe that we're gonna develop, as we have done so far, developing Roscoe to increase being a favorable place, having good police coverage, and assuming that we are successful with doing the 501c, let's build on making it attractive. And then I would say I'm not familiar enough with this whole tax thing to make a very accurate statement, but I would say I would try to err on the minimum that we need to make to be going forward. That would be mine.
So help me understand what that is. In those options, is it to take the same extension as last year of $1,598,694.37? Or is it to do one of those other three, the under 5%, or to go for the max? It's a multiple choice test, A, B, C.
While he's contemplating, I want to jump in with one thought, and I apologize. I guess I was unmuted earlier when I was talking to Cooper. Sorry about that. I say this every year, and trust me, I don't have a rooting interest, I guess, one way or the other in this. That I have a general philosophy that villages, municipalities need to keep up with cost of living, but it's not super consequential. I just want to make sure everyone knows that an increase in the levy does not necessarily correspond to an increase in the tax rate. That's an important distinction to make. For the reasons Joe just pointed out, new growth can distribute that levied amount across more taxpayers. And I just quickly scrolled through the last 5 years. The village of Roscoe has taken the allowable increase. It's never reached 5%. But we've taken the allowable increase over the last 5 years. And in each of those years, the resulting tax rate went down. Over the last 5 years, in reverse order, 0.66, 0.64, 0.63, 0.61, 0.60. I just want to make sure we understand that the terms aren't synonymous, and I'll leave it at that.
And the rate is applied to the assessed value. And
That's correct.
therefore, that is how you arrive at the dollar amount that the individual homeowner pays.
Well, I would say starting with it's an unfair position because I just don't have enough experience in this to.
It is tricky.
I would say to go for the under 5% and just had a conversation with our police chief of increase of 120-something thousand, but we added another officer, so now we're what, 175. So that's not even gonna cover half of that by taking the under 5%. Well, see, like we have departments growing like that and they need to grow that way. We have to cover it somehow, right? And I don't think going for the maximum extension and just, I'm not that way either. I don't want my property tax to increase just like everybody else. But I understand we need things, right? So,
But didn't
That's-
Joe, correct me, didn't Joe say that because of the increased building, that the taxes spread out more, that we still ended up lowering the taxes to people?
The tax rate goes down, correct? Yeah.
Again, I'm too new to this. I don't have enough information to make a good judgment on, so I'd like to hear from people that have been around for a while, what the recommendation would be. But I would
Okay, so,
generally err on that caution.
so I hear one so far for under the 5%. In other words, the extension of $1,678,629.09, right?
right, I don't agree with going with maximum just because I don't want to burden. people
You can
more.
make it 2.
I'm good with
under 5.
Okay, that's 3 so far. Sue, that one as well? Mr. Simon,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at this, it doesn't make sense to do the same extension as last year. That's just, so you knock that out right away. You look at what the maximum extension having, it is. I mean, you get higher in homes, I mean, whether it's, property tax assessment rates and stuff. It's going to be, significant. We can avoid the hearing, right? If we go under 5, right? That's
Correct.
one thing we can do, which is a positive thing because I don't think there'll be a lot of people coming to the hearing saying they're in favor of it. So I think that that's probably a consensus. So I do think that just holding it to just right under 5% with the no hearing would be my.
is there a motion then to send to the board that the extension amount be pegged at $1,678,629.09? The amount that is under the 5%, requiring no public hearing. And that will be a net addition of tax revenue of $79,934.72.
So moved. Second.
Third,
Calling the vote, please.
Babcock,
yes.
Petty,
Yes.
Wright,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Malcolm.
Yes.
Be clear. I know that's hard to do all the time. No, yes, nobody wants to do, nobody wants to do it. Item 5.9, as all of you understand, Scott's not been feeling well over the last couple of days, and he is going to dig out his fine pencils and he's
Thank you.
going the first draft of the village budget presented to you. We'll send it out one way or another.
Well, and
Well-
decisions, this was valuable tonight. Decisions made at committee of the whole tonight will absolutely change and shape the first draft of the budget. So
Right.
timely.
So that will go out in enough time so that you can take a look at it on the 21st. And there have been some challenges this year because we have a new accounting software and we also have an old way of doing it. So there is the attempt to blend or use a little bit of each or so. On though will be the thick notebooks, but rather format that you can see electronically, printed copy, or printed copy for.
I don't have a computer.
All right, so when it comes out, I will make sure you have a printed copy to put in your mailbox.
It's a long story. It's still.
Okay. Scott, are there any other comments you want to make about 5.9?
No, thank you, Carol. That was perfect.
Okay. Item 6, old business. None? No presentations. Public comment. Any public comment? Okay. No executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Lots of hard work done. Thank you.
Thank you.